Hi everyone, welcome to Insights with Lily Zhang, 全媒体 Europe. Yeah, recently I have done quite a lot serial program in Chinese about ancient civilizations. I've done one with pyramids, so quite a lot English-speaking friends ask me, what are you talking about? They want to know more about ancient civilization too. So today I'm going to do a kind of summary because I've already done 6 series in Chinese about civilization. I started from Sumerian civilizations and then about Babylonian civilization and Persian, Egyptian, and then I'm going to talk about Greece, Roman. So that's a series of program. And in English, we are kind of behind the Chinese versions, but I'm going to do a summary today so people know what I'm talking about. In future, I think more people are probably interested in my cultural program, so I'll do a series of program about civilizations, maybe in philosophy and arts as well. Those are the topic I'm really interested, but I think I would like to share with people. Of course, I'll talk about current affairs, about politics and news. But from next week, I'll do more interviews. I'll have some co-hosts, interview some experts talking about politics, economics. They probably in America, Canada, or in Europe. So that's something, that's the direction this program is going, and I hope you enjoy. Today it's more about the summary about my civilization series. The reason I talk about civilization is because I'm quite disappointed about the current politics and international affairs. And also I think going back to history, knowing where we came from, it's really for us to know where are we going. And currently I think talk too much about those issues, international issues about the pandemic. I think people already had enough. So like I already talked about Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong is just after the Cold War, Eastern Germany taking over Western Germany. That's so simple. But basically Hong Kong just go backwards, being taken over by a communist country. And all those 99 years of Western influence basically ended there. So it's I don't even want to judge that. I don't want to say anything because that's just a very good example of one society going backwards. From history, we know civilizations going backwards all the time. Basically, it's just one civilization replaced by another one, another more backwards civilization, and the whole human history going backwards stopped. That's why I'm so interested in our history, especially the history of civilization. Before I going anywhere, for people to understand my series, I would like to just give civilization a definition by how do we define civilization. It's not just any society with human beings. We call that civilized society. Civilization, by definition, is advanced human society. They have achievement in culture, technology, governance, and maybe social organization. We probably call that a legal system. So when we say a civilized society or civilization, we're talking about a society in progressing. We have to define it within certain period, like say same period, 2000 BC or 500 BC, same period on the same level and which country, which society is in advanced, is at a higher level. We can't compete, if there's a gap of 3,000 years and you can compare with two countries, two societies, you say they are at the same level. I don't agree. So that's how I define civilization. That's how I talk about the history of civilization. And there are some common mistake or misunderstanding about ancient civilization. We've heard of the four cradles of human civilization. They are Sumerian civilization, China civilization, India, Egyptian, and also plus Greece and Roman civilization. But actually, when I did some research, I think that's a mistake to compare all of these civilizations same time at same level, because they are absolutely not at the same history period. They probably, it's not 100 years or 200 years. They have the difference of 2,000 or 3,000 years. So when we talk about, I don't agree with, we have four cradles of human civilization. Basically, according to all the historical information, we only have one cradle of the world's civilization, which is Sumerian civilization. Yeah, that's why my Chinese series, I talk about Sumerian civilization for start. And when I talk about civilization, we're talking about when human society reaching certain level, the symbols, the standards have the start of written language, also agriculture, some technology, some mathematical knowledge, and also some advanced technologies like metal melding, also the knowledge of cosmos. As human beings, more accurately, we're talking about Homo sapiens, this species, the history back to 200,000 years ago. As human, this species probably older than Homo sapiens. That's we had 2 million years of history. That's from the difference between human and gorillas, 2 million years. But 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, that's the start of our ancestor. That's our modern humans' common ancestor. So for about 190,000 years, basically our gene hasn't changed much. We pretty much, so for 190,000 years, our technology hasn't developed much. We call that Stone Age. So for that long time, that's how long it takes for us to develop on our own. Maybe 200,000 years, we pretty much same level. Our body hasn't changed. So for that much long time, as Homo sapiens, our technology, our science, knowledge, almost non-exist. But about 10,000 years ago, almost happened overnight. Almost like it's pretty much, if you watch my pyramid program, about that time, almost overnight, Sumerian civilization appeared, and at a very high level, very advanced civilization. Also, I think that's pretty similar to the pyramid construction. I don't believe, if you watch my pyramid program, I really don't believe pyramid was built by Egyptians, because the Egyptians, their history, 4000 BC, that's when Egypt just formed, and they only united Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. When Egyptians' technology reaching higher level, it's pretty much at their new kingdom, which is 500 BC. their Ramsey II and the Cleopatra period. That's when they can build very good temples. So just common sense, because I believe pyramid was built like 10,000 years ago, which is latest scientific fact research showing. But even just by common contemporary historian or Egyptianologist theories, pyramid was built like 4,500 years ago. But even that, Egypt was just only established. We call that Old Kingdom. And they didn't have a proper agriculture society. Their technology is almost none. And their knowledge about the universe, they still believe the earth is squared, as covered by a female goddess. They call that sky. Okay, but pyramid, whoever designed and built a pyramid, they have advanced knowledge about the earth. They know the earth is a sphere, and also they know the latitude of the earth. Also, all those measurements, they know the speed of light. So there's no way for Egyptians to have all those knowledge. Also, Egypt was a weak country, just agricultural tribe country. And I already talked about in my pyramid program. Even these days, modern days, if we want to build similar pyramid, it's going to be almost the strongest country in the world, maybe America, or maybe the whole Europe. And the world's, you got to spend like $50 billion. And 50,000 people got to build it for construction for 2 or 3 years. You probably can build a similar. Got to use all those latest technologies, helicopters, trucks, to build a similar structure. So from the construction of pyramid itself, also from history of, also the development of Egypt, there's no way for Egyptians to build pyramid. Also, same time when the pyramid was built, so that's why I believe pyramid was built by extraterrestrial beings, commonly called aliens. And I totally believe at some stage, very possibly around 6,000 BC, which is when the pyramid and Sumerian civilization started. That's how our ancestors, our Homo sapiens ancestors, they have contact with aliens, and also those extraterrestrial astronauts, ancient astronauts, they help Homo sapiens to develop the technology, because they taught humans, our ancestors, about agriculture, about universe, about mathematics. That's how I believe, that's how pyramid was built, and also how Sumerian civilization established. Basically, it's with the help of extraterrestrial astronauts, also by teaching of them. And also they might have some genetic engineering of our ancestor. So yeah, I think if they could travel if they can travel in the universe, they know the speed of light, or if they travel at the speed of light, they definitely can do genetic engineering of our ancestors. So that's what I believe, and also there's quite a lot scientific research backing my discovery. And also, if you believe there are 4 cradles of human civilization, that is totally wrong. The common knowledge of Chinese, Indians, and Egyptians, when we look at the timeline, they are 3,000 years behind Sumerian civilization. And also, we know about 2000 BC, there's a famous city called Babylon. Yeah, we from Bible, Babylon. Babylon civilization is very advanced. As a professional, I work in property industry. I already know Babylonians. They built the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel is not a legend. It's a fact because scientists and archaeologists already found the foundation of Tower of Babel, which is square. It's not by the old paintings. Tower of Babel is not a round shape. Actually, it's a square. Pretty much a skyscraper of ancient time, and it's built by stone. It's got very strong structure. Also, another seven wonders of the ancient world is hanging gardens. As a professional in the property market, I know the construction of gardens in the air, in a high building, is very difficult because the waterproof technology. These days we have waterproof materials like silicon or glues. Also we have concrete, but still with this modern technology, it's very hard to control the water, also the root of the plants. And we still have waterproofing problems these days. No, just don't mention, those plants' roots can crack in the concrete. So that's why you don't see many hanging gardens in modern days, because it's just, you probably see big pots on high buildings, but you don't see terrace of gardens on top of each level of the building. That's just way too difficult for waterproofing. But 4,000 years ago, Babylonians, they built their famous hanging gardens. Their gardens on top of a building, layers by layers. That just means they have very advanced waterproofing technology. And also they have some building materials almost like our concrete today. So even these days, we can't build hanging gardens very properly. But back to 4,000 years ago, they could. Also, like in Babylon, the famous King Hammurabi, he already developed the Hammurabi Code, which is the most earliest law code of human society, of human history. And I can say all of the modern law code was based on the ancient Hammurabi Code, because it's already got the foundation of civil laws, criminal laws, property laws, and commercial laws. Let's have also the segment of law and the system of law. So that's how advanced the ancient Babylon civilization was. And then after that, it's Persian emperor. Persian, we know that's these days we call that Iran. But Persian emperor, it's and another tribe of Sumerian civilization. We call that Persian. They built their empire. And Persians, they have the king of Cyrus. Cyrus basically saved the Jews from Babylon, and also they released the Jews from Egypt, because Jews used to be the slaves of Egypt, but Cyrus released them. And Cyrus developed a very advanced military system, and they have their immortal military system, about 10,000 military, we probably call that special forces these days. That's why they have very strong military power. Their empire expanded to 3 continents: Asia Minor, Europe, and the Middle East. Also, the King Darius, he occupied Egypt and had battles with Greeks. The Persian emperor, was the first international superpower in ancient world. Also, they have developed the system of how to manage the international, the multi-states, because they occupy so many countries, but they keep their management system. They keep the local king, and also that was a very tolerant society. They keep the culture, religion, and the local kings and governance of the people. That's how they manage their empire system. So we can see from Sumerians to Babylonians and Persians, that's the continuous governance of Sumerian civilization. Basically, that's why I say there's only one cradle of civilization, which is Sumerians. People ask, how about India and China? India, yes. India has its written language like 1500 years BC. China, same. China has their oracle written language around Song Dynasty, which is about 13 to 1500 years BC. But the Hindu Valley civilization basically is an extension of the Sumerian, because the Sumerians is a tribe. Just now I talk about Persian civilizations. They fight. Their emperor actually is already reaching the Hindu Valley. These days, Pakistan. So India as a country didn't exist until 3,000 or 4,000 years after Sumerian civilization. And the Sumerian civilization reaching Hindu Valley around 1500 BC. And how China developed its civilization, Chinese, I don't know, but they have some ruin called Sanxingdui in central China. It's got all those features and burial sites very similar to Sumerian metal and the clay pot, those things, and even the human features similar to Middle Eastern or Hindu people. So I would say at some stage probably Chinese developed their civilization through the Hindu Valley. So China became a united country around 200 BC when Qing Dynasty established. So China become, if we call that a civilization, I already remember how I call civilization. It's called governance and kind of human society, advanced society. China actually, it doesn't fit that definition, because when China become a dynasty, a country, which is 200 years BC, they are far more advanced civilizations in Western world. Greece, Egypt, India, and the Persian, Macedon, they all much more advanced than Qing Dynasty. So I wouldn't call China an early civilized ancient country. So now from all this evidence, you already see the old four ancient civilized countries are China, India, Greece, and Sumerians. It's totally wrong. The only ancient civilization was Sumerians. And the China civilization doesn't really count. India, Egypt, and Greece, they are all the extension, the further development of Sumerian civilization. Just one, because that's all now I'm going to talk about the root of how Sumerians develop, how they extend their civilization. Basically, there are two routes. One is through the land, another one through the sea. And history already told us, through the land, we already see, I think at that stage, very early years, Sumerians, they had probably different tribes. Some tribes good at agriculture, some tribes very good at animal training, like horses. Some tribes, they're very good at fishing and sea. They call that sea people. So the majority, the major two parts are on the land and on the sea. So on the land, they developed along the rivers of Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and also River Nile. That's why we see later we see the Babylonian civilization, Persian civilization, and Egyptian civilization. They all along on the land, along the rivers. Another very important route is through sea. So some Sumerians, that's why the ancient Greeks call them sea people. There's a very famous, we know Greek civilization came from Minos civilization and Mycenaean civilization. Both Mycenaean civilization is on the upper northern part of Greek mainland. Minos civilization was developed in the island Crete. So they both, like Mycenaean civilization and the Minos civilization, basically they all originated from Sumerians. Both basically just those Sumerians, sea people. They're good at fishing, and they probably already started building boats, and they can reach an Aegean Sea, and also they settled in some islands, also Mediterranean islands. Yeah, that's how Greek civilization developed, and Sumerian sea people developed those civilizations. So when Western civilization, everybody knows Western civilization is started in ancient Greece. But where are Greek civilization come from? Sumerians. Yeah. So all this history of civilization just originated in one place, and also we can see they spread into two major routes. One is on land, another one on the sea. And then on the land, they develop into the east, formed Indo-Egyptian civilization and Persian civilization. On the west side, they get into the sea and they get into Greek islands, and that's how they started Greek civilization. That's how the ocean civilization started. That's how the Western civilization started. Yeah, so once you understand all these ancient civilization and the root of how the civilization developed, now you can see the world gradually develop into two totally different civilizations: the land civilization and ocean civilization. And even nowadays, you can see two types of countries belongs to two systems. One is on the land, another one is along the ocean. And also in later days, industrial revolution, and they found America the new continent. That's all originated from this ocean civilization, and how the root, they see the ocean, that's how they develop, expand their civilizations. Another concept when I talk about these two civilizations, there's one, that's why proof that's from one origin is the word Aryans. Aryans. Where did you hear that? Yeah. So Aryans, that's when Persians call themselves Aryans, because that's a noble tribe of Sumerians. Historically, we call Aryans the Indo-European language system. Basically, their language is these days from India to Middle East to Europe. They divided into two, just like the two civilizations, divided into two paths and route of development. On the eastern side, they develop into Indian language and Persian language and Egyptian language. On the western side, they developed into Greek, Roman, Latin, and then in later days, they developed into Germanic, Anglo-Saxon language. One is more into cuneiform. That's the original written language called cuneiform. The Indo-European eastern side, they developed the Egyptian hieroglyphy form, and on the western side, Greeks, they developed the alphabets. So that's how Latin language and the European language formed. From historically, Aryans, that's a noble tribe, but they all originated from Sumerians. By 19th century, Aryans, this term is more used for racial description, has more described those Caucasians, white people with blonde hair, blue eyes, and also later stage used by Nazis to describe Aryans as a supreme race. But you can see actually Aryans originated from Sumerian noble tribe of Sumerians, and the Persians called them, and then those divided into two. So these days Anglo-Saxon race, also the Germanic, German, and Scandinavia race. These Aryans, they have the origin from Sumerians. Basically, between the Western and the Northern European people and the Persian Iranians, they have pretty much same ancestor, and they all call themselves Aryans. And later they separate into the West and the East. The East, they become, I think they become black hair, dark eyes, but the West, they become the blonde, blue eyes Aryans. So we know where this term, linguistically and racially, we know where these Aryans came from. That's how I learned the history of civilization. That's why I think my purpose to know all of this is for us to know where we came from and where we are going. I totally believe our ancestors had some engineering, had some genetic engineered, modified by extraterrestrial astronauts. That's why we have this big leap of scientific and civilization development. We call that Sumerian civilizations. But these days, maybe not many people, or the contemporary historians wouldn't tell us about this behind history. But that's where we know, that's how we know where we came from. And also, there are some scientific facts prove DNA actually it cannot be originated from Earth. DNA, this kind of code, is too biologically advanced to originate in Earth. DNA, this kind of code, is from extraterrestrial space. So I actually believe that's where we really came from. And to talk about this history of civilization, I think it's really for us to understand there are quite a lot of mistakes and so many hidden facts about our history, and why we are not allowed to dig deeper into those historical facts. Because there are so many politically correctness about racial, about human, about countries' conflicts. So we are avoiding those facts. You know, Europeans probably don't think they originated from Middle East, and the Chinese really just deny their ancestors from Middle East either. They don't believe they have any influence by the Western civilization. But actually, from all of this history fact, I can see why China is so isolated from the Western world. Because they didn't have, because of Himalayan, the mountains, they probably from ancient time, they are so isolated from Western world. Also, I've already talked about the two routes of civilization, the development. Basically, the eastern part only reaching Indus Valley, not reaching China. So China has been isolated for centuries, for thousands of years, and developed its own system, the language system and the political system, cultural system from 200 BC. That's why it's even after 2,000 years, China is totally different civilization system compared with Western system. So also the Western civilization until now, that's we can see the road. The civilization sometimes progressing, sometimes go backwards. You can see in 500 or 600 AD, Persian countries and most of the Middle East countries being occupied by Arabian emperor. So Islamic occupied northern Egypt and the Middle East. So the whole Middle East and northern Africa has been controlled by Islamic. And then at the same time, actually, after the fall of Western Roman Emperor, that's the development of Germanic Emperor. That's we call that historians call that Dark Age or Middle Age. But in future, I'm going to talk about actually the Middle Age is not dark at all. In future, I think that's another mistake. Middle Age is not dark at all. It's established Christianity in Europe, also established the real civilization of Western and Northern Europe. So we can see civilizations and barbarians, or those civilization, advanced civilization and behind civilization, they always fighting each other. Sometimes human society is developing, is progressing, sometimes go backwards if you've been taken over by civilization really behind the time. From history, we can learn how we analyze the modern time. We can see so many conflicts of modern time. Actually, it's the conflict between civilizations. It's the conflict between advanced civilizations and the civilizations behind. And how do they solve the conflict? There's not many ways. There'll be war. The only way to solve the conflict between civilizations are wars. So wars are not really, sometimes it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing human societies have wars. But sometimes you have to have war to progress, to advance the civilizations. Otherwise, human society will be dragged backwards. Okay, that's my program today, and so that's why I'm interested in this civilization series. From history, we learn where we came from, and also we can see the current issues. We can analyze the current issues on a longer point of view and a higher point of view, as more insight into how human society developed. Yeah, today I've done the summary of my civilization series. It's long stories. I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. I see you next time.